Hi all, I'm back with another exciting video. My name is Janvi Doshi and today we are going to learn about what is cell organelles and its parts. So in the last class we saw about the structure of the cell wall, which is composed of cellulose and pectin, structure of cell membrane, which was made up of phospholipids, and to add that we learned about endocytosis, exocytosis, diffusion, osmosis, and we also studied about the different types of solutions, which is isotonic solution, hypertonic solution, and hypotonic solution. And apart from that, we also studied about cytoplasm. Now today in this video, we are going to learn about cell organelles and the comparisons between them. Now, what are cell organelles? Just like a body has organs, cells also have organs, and these organs are called as cell organelles. Now, there are different types of cell organelles, like you can see: nucleus, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi bodies, lysosomes, mitochondria, vacuoles, chloroplast, etc. Right. Let's go first and see about what is nucleus. Nucleus is also called as the brain of the cell. It's a double layered membrane with nuclear pores, and these pores allow the transfer of substances like DNA, substances like amino acids, substances like energy molecules, all of that go via the nuclear pores. The nucleus also has a nucleolus, right? So nucleus is the brain of the cell, but nucleolus also helps in controlling the nucleus and the other parts of the cell, right? And it also has chromatin fibers. Now you must be wondering, what are chromatin fibers? Chromatin fibers are basically from chromosomes. And what are chromosomes? Chromosomes are the genetic material that we have in our body. Now if we go to see the diagram, we have chromatin over here. The red one that we see over here is a nucleolus. The pores are nuclear pores. Like I said, they allow the entry of specific substances and exit of specific substances, and obviously it also has a nuclear membrane. Right. Now, what are the functions of the nucleus? It controls all the metabolic activities. Of course, if I'm saying it's the brain of the cell, it obviously should do some important function, and that important function is controlling of all the metabolic activities. It also controls cell division. So, for example, if something goes wrong in the nucleus, there will be abnormal cell divisions in your body, and due to that you may not recover from a particular injury, or there may be cancer causing cells that may be formed because of irregular cell division. And transmission of hereditary characteristics. So you will always think that, that person just told me I look like my father. So why do they say that? How do you get the looks of your father, or how do you get the looks of your grandparents or your mother? That is because of transmission of hereditary characteristics, and that hereditary characteristics is given to you in the form of DNA, and nucleus has a store of that, right? So that is the function of nucleus. And there are other special functions also. So RBCs lose its nucleus so that you can accommodate hemoglobin, which can transport oxygen. Now there are some people who have very less hemoglobin, and because of that they are anorexic, and they don't their body does not anemic, and they don't have that much amount of oxygen in their body, and they are always anemic. And because of that, uh, so when your RBCs are not functioning properly, so the hemoglobin is not accommodated, and when hemoglobin is not accommodated, oxygen is less transport, and that's how you become anemic, right? Loss of nucleus in sieve tubes of the plant cell creates hollow so that it can transport food and water. Now, plants also need food and water. You must have had an experience of phloem and xylem. So, phloem has these sieve tubes, and that helps in transportation of water and food to different parts of the plant. So, these are some special functions that we say about the nucleus. Now, coming to the next part is the endoplasmic reticulum. What is endoplasmic reticulum? It's a net-like structure. Everyone knows what's a net. It conducts material inside the cell. Inside only it will conduct the material. It's interconnected sheet and it's filled with fluid. So you need something to transport to, right? So that's why it has fluid which helps in transporting. Now, the endoplasmic reticulum is generally connected to the nucleus, but there again are two types of endoplasmic reticulum. First is rough endoplasmic reticulum. So ribosomes are present outside the endoplasmic reticulum. So that's called the rough endoplasmic reticulum. We'll just see the diagram in a bit. And smooth endoplasmic reticulum are where the ribosomes are absent. So to see in the diagram, the ones you see that the blue lines, this is connect, the blue entire line is the endoplasmic reticulum. The one that is covered with red dots are ribosomes. The red dots are ribosomes, and since the endoplasmic reticulum is lined with that, it's called as the rough endoplasmic reticulum. And whereas in the later part, you see that the endoplasmic reticulum smoothens out, so there are lack of ribosomes in there. Now, what are the functions of endoplasmic reticulum? It is a framework that surely supports the cell. It has conduction of proteins and it flushes out toxins from our body. So endoplasmic reticulum is really important and it supports the framework of the cell, because if you see any cell, you will see a lot of endoplasmic reticulum being connected to the nucleus. So in absence of that, just imagine that if endoplasmic reticulum was not there, the cell would not have been looking like a cell, because there will be no support to the framework. So it's like the bones of the cell and we need it. Now, coming to the next one is Golgi bodies. Now, Golgi bodies has a complex structure. So, they are made of 5 to 6 hollow sacs. Hollow means empty, and these sacs are flat and face parallel to each other. You can see in this diagram they're parallel to each other, they're flat, and they are also called as cisternae. So, contents are chemically modified in the cisternae and then they are released as new vesicles. Now, I would just like to give an example of um, let's say you're making a cake. So for cake, what do you need initially? You need the raw materials. So the raw materials in here are the proteins that are coming in, and then these proteins are packed. So you mix the cake dough and you keep it for cooking and you keep it in the oven so that it bakes, and after that you get a finished product. So this is the finished product that it's being there, and this finished product that is released, it's released in the form of new vesicles, right? So that is a structure of Golgi bodies. Now, if you come to see the diagram, this is the cis phase. That means the upper phase. These flat sacs are called as cisternae, and new vesicles, like I just said, new vesicles are formed, and the substances that the cisternae is giving out, that means the product after which it is, being modified. So that is going to come out in the secretory vesicles or the new vesicles. And fusing vesicles, what are fusing vesicles? The raw materials come in through the fusing vesicles. So this is something we need to know about the structure of Golgi bodies. Now, what are the functions of Golgi bodies? It's a secretory organ of the cell. Obviously, because it is secreting, it has secretory vesicles, so it's going to secrete certain enzymes in your cell. It modifies and packs various essential elements and sends to the plasma membrane. So it sends to the plasma membrane. So suppose if they want to build a plasma membrane, they want to build a cell membrane according to the particular structure, then what is going to happen in that case? That these particular cell membranes are going to, these particular vesicles that are sending out the chemical substances are going to help develop the plasma membrane and the cell membrane, or and the cell wall. So these also produces vacuoles and secretory vesicles and helps in the formation of cell wall and plasma membrane, and also lysosomes. We'll come to lysosomes a little later. So that was about Golgi bodies. Now, coming to lysosomes, organic waste generated from cell is digested by lysosome. Now, every, if something is there, if something is life, it needs to die, and if it dies, the organic waste that is generated, how does it get consumed up? It gets consumed up because of the lysosome. Now, what are lysosomes? They're simple single membrane bound organelles. So the single membrane bound organelles, and they contain digestive enzymes. Obviously, they have to kill a particular cell, they need certain enzymes, and these enzymes are the digestive enzymes. So this is how a lysosome looks like. It's a single membrane cell, and inside the lysosome it's filled with the enzyme complex. Now, what are the functions of lysosome? There are four main functions of lysosome. The first one is it's also called as suicidal bags. Now, when a cell becomes very old or damaged, lysosome is just going to burst and release its enzymes into the surrounding, and when it does that, the cell is going to get digested. So it knows that okay, the cell has been worn out, it's requiring a lot of energy. So instead of me providing so much energy or my body wasting so much energy on that particular cell, I rather kill the cell and make a new one, right, and give that energy to a new cell. So that's how it's also called as suicidal bags. Then immune system, it destroys the virus and bacteria that attack the cell. We all know that viruses and bacteria attack a particular cell, and if it attacks, we may get an infection. So, lysosome helps in protecting against those particular dysfunction in our body. Then there is a demolition squad. It destroys worn out cells and cell organelles and debris. So there must be some mitochondria in the cell, or there must be some Golgi body in the cell, which has become like very tired and they're very slow in functioning and they become old. So what will happen? This particular lysosome is going to go and it's going to destroy that, and then another new organelle is going to take its place, who's going to be more efficient. So this is how your body is going to function, and that's why it's also called as demolition squad. Now, starvation. So, for example, um, when you're hungry for a lot of period of time, lysosome is gonna digest the stored proteins and fats in case of starvation. So it's going to digest that, and it's all going to get used up. And because of that, you are also going to find that the body uses all the stored materials. So lysosome helps in that also. Now, if we come back to mitochondria, now what are the functions of mitochondria? We all know that mitochondria is called as the powerhouse of the cell, right? The mitochondria, it has an inner membrane, it has an outer membrane, it has cristae, it has matrix. So that is about mitochondria, right? What are the functions of mitochondria? The name itself says it's a powerhouse. So, to produce energy rich compounds, which is ATP, adenosine triphosphate is the full form of ATP, and we really need ATP to function our body well. So, synthesis of proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, etc., is done by the use of energy in the form of ATP, and that's the main function of mitochondria. Now, if you come to vacuoles, like I said earlier, that vacuoles are vesicles, they are like vessels, they store in food, they store in water. And what are the functions of vacuole? To maintain osmotic pressure of the cell. Because it contains water, it's going to maintain the osmotic pressure of the cell. To store metabolic byproducts and end products like glycogen, protein, water, etc. In animal cell, they store waste products and food. While in amoeba, it stores food before digestion. So when amoeba takes in the food, it forms a vacuole. And then in that vacuole, the certain enzymes are being released and then it's being digested. And then amoeba uses it up and gains energy from that food. Now, when plant cell, vacuoles are full of cell sap and provide turgidity, rigidity to them. So we see, like I said, that plants have a huge vacuole and they have a little cytoplasm in the last video. Similarly, I'm saying now also plants have a large vacuole and animal cells have smaller vacuoles. And when they have smaller vacuoles, they store waste products and food in it. So for the functioning of the cell. Now we come to chloroplast. We know that animal cells do not have chloroplast. Now why is that? Because animal cells are heterotrophic. They're dependent for food on something else. So when you go to see the diagram of a chloroplast, chloroplast has intermembranous space. It has an outer membrane and an inner membrane. We see that outer membrane and inner membrane is there in almost all the organelles except if they are a single membraned organelle. Then they have granum, they have stroma, and they have thylakoids. So every particular part has different functions. Now, what are the functions of chloroplast? It converts solar energy to chemical energy. We know photosynthesis is something that we've been studying since right from the childhood. Chromoplasts give different colors to flowers and fruits. So not only chloroplasts, but there are also chromoplasts, and these chromoplasts give different colors to flowers and fruits. And there are something else also which is also called as leucoplasts, and they are involved in the synthesis and storage of food like starch, oil, proteins, etc. Right, so this was about the cell organelles. There are so many types of cell organelles, and all of these work in harmony, work as one, so as to provide a proper functioning of the cell and in turn our body. Now, if we go move ahead to comparison, eukaryotic cell versus prokaryotic cell. Right. So when we go versus eukaryotic cell versus prokaryotic cell, we often find that eukaryotic cells have a size of 5 to 100 micrometers, whereas prokaryotic cell has 1 to 10 micrometers. Eukaryotic cell has more than one chromosome, whereas prokaryotic cell has only one chromosome. Now, eukaryotic cell has a structured nucleus and a well-defined cell, whereas a prokaryotic cell does not have that. So it has a nucleus that resembles a nucleus, and it's not exactly a nucleus. And in eukaryotic cell, there are plastids and mitochondria which are present. And prokaryotic cells, as such, do not have any membrane bound organelles. So, this is something we need to know. Like bacteria would not have mitochondria and Golgi bodies and endoplasmic reticulum. No, bacteria is a prokaryotic cell, whereas the cells with which our body is made up of is a eukaryotic cell. So the example of eukaryotic cell is present in highly evolved unicellular and multicellular plants and animals. Unicellular organisms also can be a eukaryotic cell, but it has to be evolved. And the prokaryotic cells are like primitive types of cell, and they are bacteria. So when I say about chloroplast, we just saw that there are different pigments. Now, this is just a name of the pigments that we have. So green, of course, is due to chlorophyll. Orange is due to carotene. Yellow is due to xanthophyll pigment. Purple and blue is because of anthocyanin, and dark pink is due to betalains. So all these type of pigments are the pigments that we see in the food that we have. So, for example, if the food that I'm consuming has an orange colored pigment, for example, a carrot, that means there is a lot of amount of carotene in it. So these pigments are the one that gives color to the flowers and the food that we eat to in our uh, in our diet. So all of these things are really important. I hope you understood the video on cell organelles and if what are different types of cell organelles and what are its functions. And I also hope that you like my YouTube channel EduQuest by Janvi Doshi, and subscribe and like to my videos. For press the bell icon for more such interesting videos. I hope this was of great help to you all. Thank you.